if you want to harness an entrepreneurial mindset, an entrepreneurial spirit, be guided by curiosity and wonder. Be guided by this sense of fascination and enchantment with the infinite potential that the world has. To introduce myself to you, I have no definition to tell you who I am, what kind of work I do. I have no identity markers to make my personhood accessible to you. I have no bridges to build between me and you, which can tell you, oh, Saumya is this, she does this. I'm that quintessential child of the khandan, जिसके बारे में relatives ask कि लड़की करती क्या है? And the parents respond, कुछ तो करती है. Wait for the need of others. We don't really want to define ourselves for the need of ourselves to find a being and a belonging and the fact that we have arrived, right? When I was growing up, entrepreneurship was a big buzzword, you know. Every 3-4 years in academia, something happens. Something happens in this sense, a couple of new terms are introduced. Leadership skills, 5 C's, skills of the VUCA world, creative thinking, critical thinking. So around 10 years back, entrepreneurship was big. Entrepreneurship as a skill set was big. And a lot of people were talking about it. A lot of people were talking about how if you do not teach your children entrepreneurship right now, they are going to lose out in the future. They will not have the relevant skills of the day. But not a lot of people were still demystifying what does entrepreneurship mean. I am someone. Now here is my attempt to start introducing myself to you. I am someone who worked on recognizing what are my inherent skill sets. What do I stand for? What are my skill sets? If someone asked me, what are you really good at? What would be my answers, right? And I would love it if you can think of your answers along with me, right? What are you really good at? What are your core skills? Entrepreneurial skills will come later. Innovation, inventiveness will come later. But what are you at core? These are tough answers to find because sometimes these answers are about what we are studying. Sometimes these answers are about what we are working on. Sometimes these answers are about what others expect us from us. But what are we really good at? And I realized I'm really good at not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 things. I'm going to be a complete, boast bag and tell you, I was sure there are 4 things I am absolutely amazing at, and which were in this order. I read very well, I write very well, I talk very well, which I hope is apparent, and I sing very well. These are 4 things I understood about myself. And then I did something extra. I understood reading beyond just a leisure activity. Reading is researching, reading is opinion making. Reading is understanding the world. Reading is pattern making. Reading is language development. Reading is vocabulary building. Reading is so many things at the palm of your hand. Reading is information processing. Reading is so many things right at the palm of your hand that it felt like a skill. It didn't feel like a hobby to me. It just felt like a skill. The second was writing. Now writing again, I want all of you and the world to understand just beyond writing books. हाँ, वो बच्चा क्या करता है? वो लिखता है. Maybe someday the person wants to be published. No, writing is a core skill. Whether you think about occupations like marketing, think about occupations like being a senior leader in any kind of a company, whether you think about occupations in academia, in education, in entrepreneurship, anywhere you think of, writing has a core application. Writing is one of the most marvelous skills that you can inculcate in yourself. And I understood I can diversify this. I can write for a long form blog. I can write 2 lines of a campaign. I can write in multiple languages. I can write to create. I can write to describe how other things should look. So writing. Number 3, what was the third skill I said I had? Speaking, right? And think of speaking as not what I'm doing right now. Think of speaking as the core of communication, which is so basic to the fields of teaching, to even office skills, to giving presentations, to maintaining interpersonal relationships, to figuring out how to navigate human challenges across the length and breadth of life. And the last skill was singing. Uska main abhi tak kuch nahi kar pai hu. But hopefully in the times to come, I will. But these are 3 skills. So I'm discarding the 4th skill. These are 3 skills I have. What can I potentially do with those skills? Where do I apply those skills? Do I do a mix and match? Do I take a core skill and pursue it forward? I don't know. So I am till date, what you call a chaos and confusion, walking ahead in her own bubble and still figuring out how can I make the best use of my skill. So far where I've experimented these skills are in marketing, specifically around communication and branding. I've experimented with these skills in teaching because I teach things which I am not sure of how many people are teaching. I teach poetry, I teach Indic mythology, I teach communication, I teach linguistics, I teach semiotics, I teach things that I want to learn. That's how I introduce myself to colleges who want to onboard me as a faculty. And aside from this, I also run a resort in Himachal Pradesh, and building that resort was my way of finding sustenance and sustainability for myself. But it so beautifully happened that I ended up building a sustainable property itself, which gave employment to the village where I am and which will continue giving employment to people from that village, which will expose people to a nicer, calmer, more holistic, more eco-conscious way of living. And this is like finding a purpose till the end of my life. And again, I do believe I confuse people a lot. कि तुम करते क्या हो? What is your core? Why are you working? What is happening? And this is when I go back and I sit back and I think about, and so many people also walk up to me and say that you should be an entrepreneur, you have the relevant skills. And I then segue from skills to mindset. See, when you talk about entrepreneurship, you're talking about a certain basis of skills, right? And we think we can teach entrepreneurship to students. Very well, maybe we can, right? And then kids figure out that in what zone do they want to take their entrepreneurial ability. I feel it happens the other way around. I feel that you figured out what skills you have, and then what you decide to create out of those skills is an organic entrepreneur coming out of you and manifesting itself in the world, right? So when you Google or when you talk to people and you think about, okay, what are the core skills of an entrepreneur? It is resilience, it is problem solving, it is risk taking. What other skills do you associate with entrepreneurs? If you can throw words at me. That way I know that all of you are awake. Do any one of you here want to be entrepreneurs? How many of you here want to be entrepreneurs? I can see like 6 hands up in this giant gathering. Okay, dheere dheere, hands are going up. Okay. How many of you, out of those of you who have raised your hand, think that, okay, we understand what does being an entrepreneur mean? Don't be scared, I won't ask questions. I can only see one hand. I can see a couple. Okay, couple more. I can see about 10. And prior to this, I'd seen about 20 hands. Okay, great. Great that we are at least having this dialogue. And great that we are having this dialogue because I have no answers for you. I have no answers for you because my understanding of an entrepreneurial ability or mindset comes from the fact that it is applicable in every domain of life. You need to understand what is an entrepreneurial mindset, not just to ace at being like a really, really good entrepreneur, but in any kind of profession and in any kind of life challenges as well, which is why the talk that I'm bringing in front of you has been called the Entrepreneurial Compass, Navigating Life Challenges with a Creative Mindset, all right? In the world in which you're living, I anyway don't understand where does the line blur between what is your work life and what is your personal life. This is a muddled hole in the middle of which we are somehow existing. Our best of friends are people we work with, right? Our work easily seeps into our personal life. We dream of work. I've known of such people and there's no problem with this, you know. I had a certain CEO that I used to work with who was very miffed with, you know, Saumya, what is this work-life balance? When you're working, that's not life. And life doesn't demand work. What is this? And I'm not saying what he was doing was, what he was saying, enunciating, articulating was right or wrong. I'm just saying that it was inventive. It was a new way of thinking. It was the CEO's way of thinking. And that is being entrepreneurial in your mindset and in your spirit and in the way you are. So I always have a Saumya's lens. That, okay, I may have answers for this thing the way it's been explained in the world, but if I were the first person dealing with this problem, first person, no baggage of anything that has happened in the past, that has happened historically, how would I deal with something? So, I'm not going to give you a very long speech. In fact, I'm coming towards my end. So 5 things, and only 5 things I will share with you, and those are the only things I wrote down so that I don't forget. First note of my entrepreneurial compass is, be guided by curiosity and wonder, not by passion and expertise. Once you know something, once you know this is what I stand for, once you know, okay, this is what I'm passionate about, this is what I'm really great at, this is what I've learned. I don't know what you will do with that. I don't know where you will go with that. I still do not understand everything that I'm passionate about because I'm entering the world, I'm entering your university, I'm entering stories of people with such a sense of curiosity and wonder that everything seems like a spark of joy and a spark of creation. Everything seems like a spark of opportunity that I can work towards. Again, not to create a business enterprise, not to create a venture, but probably to create a slightly better world, at least in existence around me. So my note number 1 is, if you want to harness an entrepreneurial mindset, an entrepreneurial spirit, be guided by curiosity and wonder. Be guided by this sense of fascination and enchantment with the infinite potential that the world has. And thinking that, oh, part of that potential is mine to harness, to tap, to create out of. And hey, that makes you powerful. I'm not sure if passion and expertise makes you equally powerful. So that's note number 1. Note number 2 is, be the absolute masters of the key resources of your life, which I believe are only 2. Can you help me with what those resources are? What do you think are the only basic primary resources we all have? Joy, okay. Give me one more answer. Health. That's not my answer, but I agree. Time and money. Time and money literally are the only resources that you're playing with, and I will not even hold money in the same bracket as time. Time is the primary resource we have. And look at what we do with time. We are constantly caught speaking that we don't have time. We don't have time to do all the important things in life. We have time to fulfill tasks. We don't have time because we're doing an assignment, because we are addressing what our boss needs. We are working hard to finance health payments for our parents or whatever. We constantly don't have time. And for someone like me who wants to do a million things under the sun, I need to master time. Now, how do you master time? What do you do with it? I have started stretching it out for myself. I have slowed time down for myself. What do I mean? Practically, what do I mean by it? It is also a metaphorical construct. I don't run with time. I let time be a jovial companion, and I walk along with it, and I manage it beautifully, but also by understanding that there are tasks which are a daily to-do, there are tasks which are a weekly to-do, there are tasks which are a monthly to-do, and there are tasks that you can create a giant 5-year plan of your own life with, right? And here's another thing I did with time. I stopped using the word tasks. I don't work for tasks anymore. I work for commitments. Just a switch of this vocabulary changed so much of my mindset that if I'm committed to doing something, I will not do it when I'm hassled or frazzled. I will do it with a sense of joy. I will do it in a manner that it feels like I'm doing something which is my own, which is something that I'm devoted to, which is something I don't mind spending time with. So I changed my relationship with time, and I learned, like I said, to stretch it out, because believe me or not, all of you are living in this world where you can't do one thing. You can't. If you're an artist who paints very well, you will have to find time to learn how to market yourself, or else have enough money such that you can offset the time requirement with the kind of money that you have, right? And the only way in which I changed my relationship with money is to understand it is a means to an end. It is not an end in itself. Note number 3, be disruptive. What is disruption? What is disruptive thinking? It is a combination of creative and imaginative thinking, right? And you can't be disruptive one day of life. You'll think, I'll stand up and today I'm going to create a giant disruption in the world. It doesn't happen that way. You need to be constantly imaginative, creative and disruptive with the way you look at normal life situations. I had a student once come to me, a very small, petite 9th grader, who said that, ma'am, I feel very used. And it was a very helpful student. I can understand where she was coming from. I said, ma'am, I feel very used. And my response was, that's brilliant. It means you have a use. It means you have something that others can find use in. Isn't that a great thing? And that confused her. I'm not saying that it helped her immediately. But this kind of a response confused her enough for her to go back and say that, hey, even if others are not understanding these merits in me, I can. And that was the Saumya way of thinking. Note 4 and 5, I will share with you together. Note 4, or the 4th point and the 5th point in my personal entrepreneurial compass are, be authentic. And don't fall into the trap of authenticity. If you can understand this and the difference between what I'm saying, you are sorted for life. Be authentic, know who you are, and act like who you are. But do not always be very stubbornly guided by your understanding of yourselves, because that is evolving. An entrepreneur is always evolving. And I hope all of you are always evolving. I think that is all that I have to share with you. Thank you so much.